around perhaps in 1 hour or perhaps later, if I expect a first launch, if I expect to breathe. For the moment, I'm not sure. I'm going to explain you why. But to rig the glider. Yeah, I know that, I know. Okay. So, that's the problem. There is 2 things on this picture good. One thing good, you can see there is a low central here, and there is a high moving to the east part of the area. But as you can see in altitude, you have a really strong southwest wind. So it could be interesting. The bad information on this map, it's all the red part here. It means there is a lot of moisture, and I'm not sure it's going to be enough clear to fly. I'm not sure. So that's why I have a doubt at the moment. Okay, so it's at 12 we expect to have the front just around our area and a bit further west. So that's the problem. So and so it moves already further to the west because I have some problem for the animation. I'm sorry, but it was 7 o'clock this morning, so it moves a bit to the east, but perhaps we will still have rain in the afternoon. So I'll show you a few pictures about different times. So at 12, you can see we have a window. Okay, we have no rain. No rain on the airfield. I mean, on the south here, on the south you have no wind. To the north, Briançon, we can forget it for sure for today. But here in the south, south part of the department, we have no rain. Okay, that's my problem. It's in the middle of the afternoon at 3 o'clock local time, just on the west side of the area. We expect some shower coming. So that's really my problem, and that's why I will analyze the weather every 30 minutes to see what happened, and if there is some development on the west side, on the west part of the area. That's why I have a doubt. Okay, so for the wind, there is no wind on the ground. It's quite strong at 1,500 meters, but it's 5 o'clock local time, and it's really strong at 3,000 meters. That's why really often in the area, when you have really strong wind in altitude, you always have a window to fly. And yeah, but usually, and so even because with 60 knots at 3,000 meters in the south, I'm not sure we will have too much rain. But I don't know yet. I'm really not sure about that. So I made 2 pictures. Sorry, I made a mistake. So. I changed the picture. It's a few years later, and so well, I hope we are going to fly. I let you know on WhatsApp. So we are going to start the Zoom with Sebastian, Manu, me, and it will be a free discussion. And I don't know if Brian is here or... Ok, so je te laisse lancer le Zoom ou pas alors?
Il est lancé le Zoom.
Ok.
Zoom is running, so if Brian wants to join, he will join.
Okay, no, so we have few discussion about weighing, about the mass, empty or not empty. So it could be the first point to discuss. If anyone have something to say first, and after we will talk about the energy and okay. So who wants to start?
Can you explain us what happens, for instance, yesterday, if one pilot finished the task with a big penalty because he used
full energy
and simulation?
So So yesterday the task is not valid because no one finished, so the task is not valid.
Just one?
If there is
Just
only one pilot finishing, the task is valid.
Okay.
So the first pilot gets 0 points, and all other pilots will get 20% of the duration of the first pilot as a penalty, as a negative score.
And this time is including the penalty he has as time because he used more allowance or not?
I need to double check this.
I checked it. He gets zero unless he used twice the energy allowance, then the winner outlands as well.
So if you use twice,
If you use double your energy allowance, you outland. But up to that, your daily corrected time becomes the CET. So I don't write the rules. So in my opinion, the double should be 1.1. So you can go 10% over your energy and then you're outlanded.
This makes sense.
10%.
Why do you put 4,000?
Yeah, to be fair with fantastic.
Yeah, and also this, the penalty of using too much engine for the others who could not make the task, that does not make sense either.
They will not have, I don't know,
But they don't know.
No, because
for example, if you get
they will not get any penalties for not finishers because it's time penalties. So as they did not cross the finish line, there is no time. So the non-finisher.
Yeah, but for example, someone needs 5 hours for the task and just finish it. So the other ones would get 1 hour, would get 60 minutes reduction, minus it. And if the one who flies 5 hours gets another half an hour penalty because he used too much energy, the others would get even more than 1 hour, more than 60 minutes. That would, I think that would make sense. I think it's a very exceptional case.
Yes, because the first one will have penalties.
Yes, because the first one will get, although he only needs 5 hours, he will get 5 hours.
In fact, your question is, I think, is it better to use more energy, to overshoot energy, or to do not come back and to the difference between the penalties and the timing?
Yeah.
But we have to do the simulation, I think, because I haven't the answer right now. Sorry. You said 10%.
But even with my suggestion, still, you know you're the only finisher.
Yeah.
You want to get as many penalties as possible. Because then your time is longer and then the 1.2 is longer.
Yeah, because this is 1 second. Yes.
So the calculation for everyone else's time should not be from the corrected time, that's what it's called in the rules. It should be from the actual time. So if you finish in 5 hours with 20 minutes of penalties, you get minus 20, everyone else gets minus 60, rather than 0 and minus 60.
I'm not sure.
So,
I'm not sure.
If there's only one finisher, I think you actually finish correctly only if you are in this limit of available energy. If you go over, this is actually you did not finish, so you went over. So
that's what
Yes, I don't agree with Matthew. For me, my opinion, it's only my opinion. If you are the only finisher, you have 5 hours of task, minus the penalties, and the timing of your pilot should be, in my opinion, on the entire task. So you reduce your match on your gliders. You see what I mean?
That is what I said.
Actually, my opinion would be the same as you, there should be a valid day if nobody will finish with using the limits.
If nobody finished,
because if everybody has more, using more energy than they are allowed, there should be another valid date. Because in this case, the winner would be a battery with 100 kilowatts.
We cannot find the winner, in fact, in this case.
Yeah,
of course.
Yesterday, for instance, this was the main problem that we were not sure in the flight if the flight will be valid if we go, let's say, 1,000 over, and if this would be clear, we will not continue further on the task. So also would not
Actually, we have all the same system, all the phase system. But imagine some glider has 10 kilowatts available in his glider, and he does a parkour because he has many power in the glider. That's not fair for the other one.
We have to check if the penalties are enough in this case. 1 second for 1 watt, and we have to check it, I think. Yeah.
If it's only one thing, I mean, the one who wins, for instance, if it's only one finish, it's finished correctly only if it's in the limited, this quota which is allowed. If it's over, it's also not finisher. Yeah. So that should be like this.
That's what my proposal.
For the second, third pilot, okay, they could go over and get some penalties.
Yeah,
but we have to one guy come back with just the limits. Yeah.
But I think it is also not what we want that if one person finishes a very difficult task, that they win the whole competition. I think we have an improvement on the regular 1,000-point scoring by being a little bit towards Grand Prix scoring, that one day cannot decide the competition. So I think we should have a devaluation factor, and that should work along the lines of if 100% of the pilots finish the task, the maximum time you can come beyond is 1.2. But if half the pilots outland, the maximum you can come beyond is 1.1. And if 90% of the pilots outland, the maximum you can come is 1.02. So it scales linearly with the number of outlandings, the maximum you can come behind the winner.
Yeah, because the chance factor is high when only one is finishing or few are finishing. We all know that in the 1,000 points figure normally. And this kind of, okay, if everybody wins, if everybody make the task, you get only maximum 1.2 from the winner of the day. But if you have more and more outlanding, the maximum time the other guys do is compressed, so you don't keep the overall score.
Like date factor for the normal competition.
So you compress.
One thing interesting for a contest director, I mean, is to when you do the task, it's interesting to do a task where you're almost sure everybody or 60% of the person are going to do the task. And yesterday, I was not sure. And so that's why perhaps it was perhaps better when you have a doubt on the weather, perhaps it's better to cancel before the start line.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But this devaluation, that's, as a competition director, so we lose days. I'm not 100% agree with this strong devaluation. And I mean, we have the same in classical competition now. It's a pure outlanding day. We only have 600 points by now, which I think is a bad rule because this forces competition directors to make too small and too technical tasks, and this will be the same for the E-Glide too. And I think E-Glide offers the possibility to do something completely individual. For example, if someone is just smarter than the others and uses the parkour, although the track goes 50 degrees off, I think he should deserve this extra cleverness.
Yeah, but you make also the race longer by making a lot of feature. So then the percentage, 20% we have between the guy who finished and the guy who are not finishing. If you make it for 2 hours things, it's small, so it will be only 25 minutes, 26 minutes. But if you make it 5 hours because you have to make a lot of detours, you still have these 25 minutes because it will be a small percentage on the long day. Yeah. Because, so at the end, your win is the same and you make the task. So that's why perhaps we can compress it.
But to come back, I mean, if this was the case, you are enforced to make more clever or more special decisions, to fly less tactical but more individual or more creative, and everybody has the same chance. And with the help of the engine, I mean, I agree to your suggestion. I mean, if we just use the engine for making, for punishing the others, I mean, we are not flying against the others, we are flying for us, for our good result, and not against the bad result for the others. So your suggestion is good, but I mean, deviation, I think here in the mountains, especially if we have interesting weather, creative flying should get a bonus. My opinion.
But Tilo, think about it. If you're yesterday, if you were the last, you would finish the task. And you know you're the only one finishing the task within the rules.
Yeah, but
maybe at the end, the autom is working.
Yeah.
It would be much better for you to stay for another hour at the autom, because all the others get more penalties, and that's not the way it should be. So the idea of Matthew is not a bad one.
We have sunset. I only had 1 hour to sunset.
Yes, I have flying 1 hour to sunset.
However, I think this is the 4th E4Glide, and all the E4Glides, apart from one from Varese, were at strange, difficult weather. And despite this, we had only one of these very exceptional days, and I think we should not think too much about this one exceptional day, because it's extremely unlikely that this will repeat.
If I may, since apparently I'm the only one that was in IGC for many years, I strongly suggest to not make rules on one case, because what Tilo said, I totally agree with him. The new rule to decrease the day when most of the pilots landed out came after a very bad season. And it is totally wrong. I'm sorry to say that, because you have to recognize the value of the pilot, not to decrease the other. So that's my personal approach to usually to very unusual or unfortunate situation like yesterday.
My proposal I wrote more than 1 year ago, so it's not a reaction tomorrow.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the decision that was taken by IGC some years ago, which is, in my opinion, not fair to those who close the task in difficult days.
So maybe, like Matthias showed that, okay, in this case that, of course, it would be good for the pilot to stay in the air as long as possible. Maybe we can introduce, for instance, on the previous E4Glide, the penalty for non-finishers was 20 minutes maximum. So here we went to 20%. So maybe in case that nobody, I mean that one is finishing, we said, okay, not 20%, but maximum 20 minutes. 20% or maximum 20 minutes.
It's coming back compressed like here.
So in this case, so we have a solution for other days when we have a short task, when 20 minutes would be too much, and we have a solution for 5-hour task, poor conditions, when the punishment is then not 20%, because this could be already then at 5 hours, it could be 1 hour. We said, okay, 20 minutes.
So you mean a combination, 1.2 or 20 minutes, whatever comes first?
Yeah. Yes.
A bit more complicated.
Yeah.
Now it's current to 7 minutes or something like that.
When to be between 20 minutes, when you decide to be at 20 minutes or 1.2. Then,
I mean, the first E4Glide was the best because it was 20 minutes from the last finisher. So
And then, if I may add a comment, we should consider that pilots do not have anyone on site that can inform about the development of the other gliders, because Team Captain is not developed to be here at the sailplane Grand Prix style competition. So yesterday I knew, for example, that there were a lot of outlanded pilots, but I don't think there's any reason to have information from the ground, because he changed completely the concept of this kind of competition.
You are saying that we should not talk about this publicly, that there was outlanding, or we should?
No. The Grand Prix concept is to avoid any influence from the ground, and the team captain, in fact, is not required. Yeah. So it's a very individual competition. That's why I'm saying that information from the ground, except for safety, should not be allowed. That's my point.
I think it's already like this, because it's written that everybody should be on the same frequency,
exactly.
And the other frequencies, apart official frequencies, exactly. are not allowed. So I think this is already covered with this.
Yeah. It's like the case that just one pilot is flying and could have some information from the ground, which is not allowed for the ground concept.
I think we can see it run on farm anyway. If you have the VN, you can watch them outland anyway.
It's impossible to do.
Yeah.
With the new technology, it's really almost impossible.
Everybody has on his cell phone a viewer and follows the race and so on.
No, I have no style. I think that pilots watch out and not on the...
Yes, but sure.
Yeah. It's another story. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So if we come back, so for the penalties.
Yeah,
which do you require, prefer, and so on? If you want to show something. No?
So, so now about this talk, what is now the conclusion? We will add this sentence that not 20% or
yeah, we must take a
minutes maximum. Or
so I discussed with Brian yesterday night, and it's possible for us to change a bit the rules if every pilot are okay with the new rules. So we can take a decision here.
I don't think we should be changing the rules midway through the competition. And I don't think we should airbrain design the rules ourselves in a few hours and write them out rules. Go through the process and put them in for next year.
Yeah. Okay. And it's that it's only this exceptional day won't repeat in the next 12 years, I predict.
Maybe today.
Yeah.
So we don't change.
Okay.
There will be 2 points we will have to discuss for the next E4Glide. So I write one is about a valid day. What is a valid day? And it is, I heard about if it is a valid day if only one pilot makes the task in the allowance of energy used. So it makes more valid.
Okay.
And the second is about this.
Sorry, about this point. So imagine there is 5 pilots finishing the race, but the 5 pilots cost a bit more.
Yes.
So it's valid or not valid?
Yeah, that's why.
Is that the question?
So we will have to discuss with Brian after.
So
we can do it.
The quote, if there is one finisher and he came, if he had allowed 2,000 watt-hours and he finished with 3,000, that is the only one finishing. It's not finishing. This is like out.
I agree.
If we go over, then we suggest each pilot, okay, use as much as possible energy, so everybody will be tempted to completely drain the batteries. Then
I think one thing very important should be you need to have one finisher with the energy allowed on the task.
Yes.
And after you can type for, but you need to have, I think. What do you think?
I think if you don't use within 1.1, you're an outlanding, and then you don't finish the task.
1.1, 1.0 is just exactly in the quota. If you are 1 watt-hour over, you outlanded.
I think it's too hard. I think having a small buffer.
in a pure glider, when you don't have an engine, you outland.
But when you miss a turn point by 500 meters, you get 50 points. You don't get 0.
Yeah. How good, by the way, is the measurement in the computer, in the LX, and when you made? I mean, is there a tolerance, or is there? Because I've heard there are some. The numbers don't match 100%.
What we are using for the scoring is the data coming from Excel. So
About 30 watt-hours, as far as I know, is not in the storing because of the consumption from instruments.
Instruments are consuming something.
Yeah, because if you make the day valid, because you brighten your LX screen, I mean, it would be a bad situation.
I think 10% with 1 second per watt-hour penalty is very good.
So you have the idea now, I think. You have the idea of this question.
Yeah.
And the second one would be about this compressing or not when it's running a lot. To like 1 hour or 2 hours the difference because the guy is waiting on the slope to make more time.
Yes, it's maximum 20%.
Today it's 20%. Before calculation of penalties for the guy.
It's a strange idea to stay on the time like 1 hour.
Yes, Cicero is very nice on the slope.
I would also like to suggest that there should be no energy use before the start when you're above the release altitude. Because I think otherwise it could be very unfair if we have another 2,000 meter start line and the thermal zone was only 1,500 meters, then if you have very big batteries, you can motor to 2,100 and dive start, and everyone else just scrapes 1,400.
So you are pure sailplane before opening up?
When you're above the release height. If you fall below the release height, you can use the engine to come back to release height rather than reload. I think that's a fair compromise between wasting time with tow planes versus
discussion.
However, this, for environmental reasons, this is bad because this forces to have constantly higher air tows, which I think is anyway questionable because sometimes if we fly to a thermal and not allowed to release these, for saving CO2, it's a bad idea.
I think there's nothing in the rules here that says you can't release from tow.
Oh yes, it was said in the
IGC rules, but I'm not sure it's in our rules.
At the Grand Prix, it was even penalized.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
And it was strongly penalized. You got 1 minute penalty if you release too early, which I didn't understand. Not just by saving energy on fuel.
No question.
But use it right, but if you relaunch, you can be towed if it's open.
You can be towed to the start line and to release.
At the altitude. So yesterday was a
I have not enough for tow planes.
Yeah, I mean, therefore, I mean, we E4Glide in general, but that's just a personal suggestion. Lowering the start line, especially with this questionable weather, is always a good idea because we have to even after the start line. I mean, even if you make a start line in 1,000 meters only, yesterday it would have been possible to glide to 1,000 meters.
You never climb above 1,000 meters.
Because on the first when the cloud base was 1,500 meters and you had that 1,800 meters the start line was not very good for us.
I agree. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Benji, tu avais une autre question?
No, I just made this about the use of an engine above the release altitude. But you can use it only after start line is open, perhaps, but not before. But this is, small details, I think. Very small details.
So, and the master now. Because we want to talk about the
calculation.
So it's open. Who starts?
Mass.
The mass and the energy allocated.
With the glider empty or?
In my opinion, logical is more to be on empty. So, because in such poor conditions anyway, if you drop the water if you can, so and so it's relevant empty so glider pilot but without water ballast. And in case you're a heavy glider, you cannot drop, this is your relevant mass. But it's not if you have a big wing surface and then a big mass at 45, then this is then eventually advantage. So it should be minimum takeoff weight with the pilot, so without water ballast.
What is your minimum weight on the DG with two guys like you inside?
670 kilos.
How much?
670.
Like yesterday.
So you have
yesterday was.
So you
no water.
How many liters you put?
120.
To go to 45?
Yeah. Yes.
Because the wing surface is so big.
So 45 is mixed
Yeah. There is 1 kilogram.
Pretty much.
We can fill it to empty wings. In case of state, he have no water ballast and he have mounted energy for 45. So.
Yeah, but we shouldn't write the rules because Stefan's water ballast doesn't work. And I think we do most of the flying with our full ballast. When you look at the last E-Glides, it's sometimes we have days like yes, we need to drop. But most of the time, I think it's fair at 45. Otherwise, gliders like the G or like the LSA, they just too. We get very little energy, even though we do water consumption at 45.
Calculation on the empty weight, some of the guys will have really little energy. And it's a bit disturbing.
And yes, it's my choice to drop the water or not drop the water, but it's not fair to make me the water to then fly at my fair energy allocation when everyone else gets to fly at 45.
So, anyway, in marginal conditions, always want the glider which is the lightest, so with the minimum wing loading. And in this case, in weather like yesterday, pilot would drop the water.
But I think this is only 20%
when it's
of the
empty,
time.
it can climb higher than the others, which cannot be so light. So,
but when they can drop the water, they can also climb in weaker thermals. That's the advantage of having a big wing loading range.
And yesterday I kept the water for a long time because I was pretty sure Pablo would work. Actually, it worked half an hour before we were there.
I think if people feel it's a real problem, we should just say you don't drop the water. It's fixed ballast like pop class. You get weighed randomly on landing, and if you weigh in empty on land, you have problems. If you're worried about gliders having a big wing loading range, that's the only way to do it.
Today the problem we have is the range of gliders in the same class. Because we have really heavy gliders. And this push everything with the lightest glider with less and less allowance of energy. So we have also this kind of deviation because of this. With less type of gliders, we would not have this problem today.
And we need a minimum standard of how much weight or energy glider should have to have
a minimum
contest.
For us, at the bottom. Because 1,200 watts hour is just nothing. Like if you have a glider, so you can't. Okay, you can do the best, but there is no such thing. So you're dead. And this would be a floor, bottom floor, below.
Yeah, and then if we think 2 years back, I mean, we had every competitor had the same. Every competitor had 2 kilowatt hours, and now we
depending on the glider.
Independent of the glider.
This was one extreme.
Yeah,
so
and this
here we have another extreme.
Wait.
Yes.
So we should go somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we missed already. I mean, the problem was when the heavier gliders came up. Then this was solved by this mass factor, which I think was at the beginning a bit strange for me, but at the end it works out fine. So we are already on a better way than we were 2 or 3 years ago, and even 3 years ago it worked. So it was.
There was no double seater before.
There was not double seated, but there were extreme light gliders. I mean, there was a silent taking part, and he would have 800 kilowatt hours. And in Großwickerswalde, yeah. We both do 2000.
And what if you change the index then for the very heavy gliders? So everyone can use more energy, but the very heavy You can
It's an idea.
compact the energy usage.
You mean to reduce the lag or?
Yeah, the lag. So, for example, the DG don't have 111, like, you know, would be a little bit too soon, like 108 or something. But then you can really compress the energy usage.
I mean, for existing handicap factors, they are calculated with water, with very low lighting. So now when we are at 345, I mean, actually low performance gliders, they already have advantage. So,
but that's not completely true. I mean, the DMST index factor is calculated at the beginning with water and in the end without water. So it's a mixture in between.
Probably it wasn't 45 a square meter, but I think.
Yeah, but not,
I think we're not so far.
It's not fully loaded. I mean, I think it's about 50 or something. Not probably.
I think with us at 45, it's not completely wrong.
Does it make a big difference?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it was a question every day at the briefing. That's why.
For this reason, I mean, because they already committed advantage, and as I said last year, we were at one extreme, so everybody the same. So this year we went to another extreme, based calculation on the maximum mass. So if we would use the minimum takeoff mass of the glider, we are somewhere in between. So which
I think we're in between by now. And if Richard will like you propose that we discuss to no more LSA, it's no more Diana.
I don't think so.
But
I wouldn't bring it.
another point how to be sure that minimum mass at the check time is really the minimum. Because as a pilot, we will try to.
You just need to put pilot inside.
Yeah, but you can have water in.
This is minimum. So, and this is when you don't have drinking water, you don't have. So when it's really minimum. So
As you will try to have mass as maximum as possible.
Why?
For the initial check, to have more energy.
But what you can put inside, we can say this is without water, without drinking water, and with everything else on board what you have. So.
Yeah, but so we need to check: is this empty? Is there any?
Why do we need to check? Why shouldn't you be able to say I want to fly 45 kilos minimum?
Yeah, but then you can check just after landing, just wait after landing if they are.
Like I said, and then say what weight they want to fly. If you want to fly 50 kilos a square meter full of water every day, you have to land with it, and you have to prove you still have it today.
Yeah.
If you want to fly empty and take the energy for being empty, then too.
Did anybody calculate the difference?
Actually, no, it would be. I mean, just in the bigger for heavier riders, you know, 20,663 high surface would be less, but the others would be more or less equal. So it would be not much difference. So,
And 100 liters of water in the LSA.
How much?
100 liters.
Yeah, me too.
So it would be a big difference. 20-25%.
Yeah, so when it's bad weather, you can drop on you can really climb very well.
Yeah, but it's only that 20% of time. The other,
I mean, the idea
80%
usually idea is to climb and to use the engine when you drop the water, because you are heavy, you can climb very well. So that's the point. So and of course you can fly with ballast, and so that maybe you will use it later, but it's pilot decision. So.
It's a point we need to mention.
Yeah. But I think it's today when you are the specialist, it's the moment to discuss, because it's not next year for the next
So my proposal for simple calculation was simply to use 4.5 and we multiplied by the mobility rate of each glider. So this is when typically you would give like 2000 watt-hours, but if would be conditions then we would use factor 5 or maybe 5.5. So this would be simple so that we are not really looking what is the lightest glider, but it's the same calculation.
So with the data like calculation, what is our end class?
With me and the 350, 360. So I would get like 1.5.
Yes, 1.5 kilowatts.
It's enough for you.
Balanced up to 45 kilos. But then on 80% of the days, when I'm at 33 kilos a square meter and everyone else is at 45, there's no chance to keep up.
But it's already so low factor for LSA, so...
Yeah, because it doesn't glide like a Ventus 3. Swap if you like.
I mean, in conditions, all gliders are more or less the same. So when you have 0.2 or 0.5, all the gliders are very similar. So
it's only a 20% time.
Even then, just with the 5 kilometers radius on each point to make 10 kilometers more, it's really a big difference in such cool conditions. So,
Yesterday thinking there.
But even 4 kilometers ahead was
I have a small point which is completely different. This is about the atomics radius. It's not about the handicap, I don't care about handicap. But the turn point radius for the best glider is 0.5. So it's really small. If one day we have any weather problem at this point, it can't reach the point, which is unfair. And the other clubs, and especially the lowest handicap, they can do it. It's just a question if we make it, it's not 0.5 as a minimum, but like 3 or 4 kilometers, and the others are more. But then we have an area he can reach, and especially also here, because sometimes you have a reach, which helps the guy because they can use it before going to the hole, turn point, like a col de Crab on the west, which was really for us.
No.
And the guys with the LS8, they turned before col de Crab. It was much better.
Yeah.
So it was unfair.
So
I had the same problem with Chavaille. I thought Chavaille was the same problem at the bottom of the carton.
Yes.
So the one on the west part of Alban, yes.
So it's unfair, guys. So I would suggest that we make a tad bigger, the smallest radius that here, so it's more fair and more safe.
I have a proposal for this. I can show you if I can use it.
I think they already did this in previous
It's 5 years old.
So currently we have a point like this, which could be very unfair if there's a mountain range or something, or a mountain range here, and the batteries have to go around here, let's say it can turn here. But instead, I think the turn point should look
make a track.
like this.
So
instead, the LS8 splits from here and the Ventus 3 is here, or even the other way around. So like this, or like this.
Yeah.
And I think
I
think it makes it better because the LS8s can't decide to touch it here or touch it here or touch it here while just 3s go here. Everyone has only a tiny radius to pass through. And this doesn't need to necessarily be angled at the bisector. You can point it down, so you task setter can choose the angle of these so that no one has an advantage. So if the mountain range is like...
Maybe it can be difficult inside the computer, no?
So this can be the mountain range, and then you can have the turn point like this, angled parallel mountain angle. So let's say it's turn off the mountain earlier, the vent is continue further along the mountain. So fair preference.
You have to check and prove the systems.
It's possible to do ranges on system because it's the same ATs.
But the scoring script will be
I think because it's the same as ATs, so that's...
But it doesn't solve the problem if you, I mean, currently you're flying a mountain, but imagine heavy flying, we have thunderstorms, and there's just at the end, on the northern part, there's a thunderstorm, and the LS8 can get it. So for the solution from bench, just to make minimum 2 kilometers for everybody, and then start to increase, would be first of all much easier to program. And still we had a chance. I mean, imagine the half the this turn point 2 days ago.
I think you can pick a back still. So even if there's a thunderstorm exactly at this point, you can still go all the way around.
Today, 5 as a minimum, and then you have more for the gliders with less index. And I just suggest not 0.5 because for the thunderstorm it will be difficult. Make it like R equal tutors, and then you have more space for the highest index glider. If the thunderstorm is here, go there, I can go here the solution.
I think that this is a different problem. But it's a fine solution for
it's
a different problem.
It's just for that kind of difficult weather with a problem on this point. It's like sometimes we go it's unfair to take on point. Or too risky.
Or imagine, we had this at the Grand Prix in La Cerdaña a couple of times. Imagine the turn point on top of too high. And if you have 2 kilometers, you can reach under the turn point. With a diameter. So if we make, I would say, minimum 1 kilometer, and if it is a till day, we go to 2 kilometers minimum. Okay. We did in La Cerdaña more or less every day, and it worked out perfectly fine.
But I don't know how they have to calculate the radius if it's not 0.5 or if it has if it changes also something in the radius, or you need to make all the radius the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So you have to keep it same. It's not just one point which will be. You have to make it for all the points difference because it's impossible to calculate anything.
It's not impossible.
One glider with handicap 125. Then I mean with 120 would already have like no. It's the same. It's no problem.
Yeah, I think we will not use it for the E4Glide, but it's just For the point, I was sometimes a director, and I know it's difficult. So you have to be fair and you have to make it safe. This 0.5 because it's not really safe, fair, but then you have a big problem.
So I think this is point two. So maybe we can do it. When it's more difficult.
To change, not 0.5 as the minimum, but 2 kilometers as the minimum, more for the average.
Because it's more
Okay.
just.
So Roger?
Yeah.
It seems we can apply it from today if we want. Just have to ask for adjunct.
How to calculate it?
Who will be able to calculate it if all turn point will have the same
Okay. And for the reporting point, we keep 500 meters. I think better, you know, yeah. So, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Minimum 1 kilometer.
I mean, maximum.
Make it very
because when we're saying 3 or 4.
Then we have 10 kilometers radius for
So we can join again the proposal the young guy said that the factor should be different. So if we have reference larger, the other will be much more.
And the energy, so because after you measure the energy, or we keep just because you okay. You with that or with two more?
Yeah. Just maybe from 0.5 to 1 will double also the circle of the lowest index or yes? 5 to 10? I don't think so, no.
I think so.
No.
I just was introduced a glider which is take just add an open class glider. Which you take apart, it will automatically go.
Easier here, but easier here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one glider, two point index, but the highest of the competition.
Yes.
Is the fake glider of the competition. This makes the circle for you. Yeah?
Maybe we just give to Stefan high
Or maybe for look,
Let's see disadvantages. I have the highest index and the lightest glider.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh.
C'était quoi votre point? So you wait just I'm going to look outside. I prepare another and
So if we multiply by 500 as it increases the lower by 800 to increase again by 500 meters for lower performance. In terms of the rules, do say radius of 500 meters. I'm not going to protest this.
So outside for the moment it's not rain, so it's snowing, il est allumé là. So yeah, it's tricky.
No, you have seen one.
I'm just going to show you.
C'est bon.
So it's the same as this morning. I'm just going to show you the last one. So you can see slowly to the east. There's still development in this here. That's the problem. And the big part of the rain moved to the east, but we have new warming here. That's the problem, and it is the one coming next. So it's with the rain with the local time. You see, yeah. Between more. So it's 1 year. Just well, no, for the wind is the same. So I'm going to show you for tomorrow. For tomorrow, look at the sun there. You can see something Saint-Laurent at 2 o'clock. Okay.
It's Monday 11.
No.
No, it's okay. I
just look. Wednesday,
Wednesday 14.
So we also. Okay. And for tomorrow, so the most important. So. So the low axis is here. We are in altitude a light west flow, and I'm not sure for the next day. For today for sure it will be flying. It will dry. So I think this flow is I'm not sure, but here the low pressure axis is going to move the east. So to Gulf between around, and as you can see, there's a really big high pressure axis of pressure really high on the west. So typical, it will be a typical situation. Not for tomorrow, because tomorrow will be with the west low, but for the next day we expect northwest Mistral, in fact. So, and I've got just allowed, but on Saturday it can be very strong. But it's not where we will see. So it can change every hour. So sure today it will be
Today?
Tomorrow, sorry. Tomorrow. Now, today not. It's already 11:30, so I will let you know at 12:30. If you read my line, I will look at the web again. And at 12:30, I tell you on WhatsApp if you read your line, okay? It's stupid to quiz the son of the guy, you read your line and so on, it's stupid, so okay, it's up for you. Sorry? I keep sensitivity with the decision in 45 minutes, 1 hour, okay?
What is 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Can rain drops?
Yes.
Yeah, because we have also our students, so we have some for the CNV class, but for private gliders. No, it depends on the wind.
Normally it doesn't make you fast.
And so, what is it? It's flying just over the ridge then? We don't fly the thermals in conditions?
It depends. Tomorrow, I think, will be a mix with ridge and for tomorrow. With the westerly flow.
Friday, Saturday days, right?
It is. And perhaps I will, if you, for the guidance, I can do a briefing on the area about wave situation, the and I can do it quite fast. we need 20 minutes, and I show you.
It can be more fair for everyone to keep that.
Yeah. We are going to limit it, but I mean, if you fly on the ridge and you fly fast, you need to have information. And to be fair with everybody, because I'm sure our Belgium knows very well the area. And so I will do a briefing. I not tell you everything, but important.
Can give us.
Okay, so I know around 30, 12, 40, I will wait with that. Okay? Enjoy your stories.
So, Matthew changed the rules, and the radius of 5 meters seems to be 0.
Maybe you could interpret, it says the minimum radius is 100 meters, but maybe that means that you could set a larger, I don't know.
It is shell, it's pretty shiny, because it changed everything.
Just add a glide changes automatically.
Yeah, but the not competing.
It should, the minimum radius should be.
So, is there any objective to have more?
Exactly. The interpretation from FAI is that this is the minimum that you can set that more for safety, which is exactly the case here.
Are you okay with this? Yes. Projection. Another question, Lucas, about the shark, which doesn't have the voltage. Can you show how it is consume power?
The power?
Yeah.
Moved by current and torch.
Yeah.
So, and the mode is measuring just the current. So this reason there's possibility that you get inside the reference voltage.
Okay.
And then it's multiplied with this voltage.
So this if someone set an accurate value, this can be made fair because the energy used is not very
yes, smooth. But it's usually before, so it's for event. This is too much because the level of the system maximum is 160. So for sure, it should not be more than 160. So in reality, 2,000 kilowatt hours, the voltage drop is about from 116 to 104 volts. But if level flight, it's additional volt drop. I mean, high power you use bigger volt on it. It's a full power, it's about 8 volts. Smaller powers is say 4 volts. This question, in case in this, when you have like a low water about 2,000 kilowatt hours, the reference voltage should be about 105 volts. So that it's about in the minus the voltage drop.
Right in the file what the pilot has set reference voltage to.
I don't know.
Which pilot?
Something should be really written because otherwise I don't know how the code would
because otherwise the program cannot see.
Yeah, so
it must be
So can I have some shifting about this?
If somebody is changing the current voltage,
Yeah, sure.
So it has to be.
But even can this be changed during the, for example?
A lot of times be like a flat thing you can't change. Perhaps it's function. Even if you change it, doesn't change the reference in the file because it was on the part of the IGC.
Nicholas here.
He's outside.
Someone asked what he has it set to currently, then I know what.
He's 102 as far as
This is again a really the side of rules because we just say okay you have with a bridge no bridge no flight.
The same or JREs or 33 or 34, so they need to be.
Yeah. So bridge.
I mean the problem with the mobile so that it was not designed for accurate so just come off. So question about how rate is anyway the current.
They mentioned across purpose valves, they had equipment calibrate. And I think
with the bridge, but not with the
je pense que de toute façon, on obligera plus il y aura des machines différentes. Je vais vérifier sur quoi c'est ça qui fait référence. Et après,
what we do this afternoon, if you want to still have a talk about rules, we can have it 3 o'clock if we don't fly. If we fly, but otherwise, as you want. If you want something else from the please. Oh no. No more. Okay. So I will let you know